your boy Billy Wayne back again with Legacy United, a Righteous Project Inc. podcast. And we got a new guest today, a longtime friend. As always, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Aaron Gonerway here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Aaron Gonerway. So, we go way back to our high school days, and I'm glad that you honoring us with your presence today, man. And as the audience already knows, we invite people to share their success stories, things they've gone through, key moments in their life that helped them and guided them to the point they are today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass it your way, Aaron, man, and just take it from the top.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Billy. Yeah, we go back from high school, man. South High, class of 02. So it's really good seeing people that you grew up with in their position now. So, Billy, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Again, I'm Aaron Gonerway. I'm from Texas originally, but I grew up in Denver. Middle school, high school, and some elementary school as well. Went to college, Trinidad State Junior College. Yeah, man. So I was just trying to find my way in life. So I kind of had a lot of jobs. Yeah. I worked retail, worked restaurants, worked customer service. Then I finally got a job at a brokerage firm. I was at Charles Schwab for 10 years. I had my Series 7 and my Series 63. So that was kind of my first grown-up job.
Yeah, man.
It's one of those places, man. Corporate world wasn't for me. It's just it's too many rules, man.
Right.
And once you get older, you just don't want to drink the Kool-Aid. Don't taste good, man. You just can't drink it. And that was me with the corporate world. I just wasn't the person to drink the Kool-Aid. And I found myself in a position where I was blessed to have a job, but I just wasn't happy. And people I work with was there for 20, 30 years and they're miserable. I'm like, man, I don't want to be that person,
right.
And I am I'm 10 years in, and I'm like, damn, like this person looks mad and angry and it's something told me there's something more better out there for me. I just got to find it. And life happens, man. I was married to my kid's wife, my kid's mother. I have 2 beautiful children, and life just makes you kind of settle. And I found myself settling for that corporate job because I had bills, and
right.
And I always tell people now, man, my kids can't eat excuses, So I just couldn't. I was afraid to take that chance, And then again, life happens, man. We end up going our separate ways, and I found myself just kind of bouncing around, and that's when I kind of got the fire in my ass to kind of leave that corporate setting to another corporate setting, Then I end up moving to Pueblo, Colorado, which was another culture shock for me. Even though it is Colorado, man, it's just a lot of people that look like me is not there, man, and when you apply when you apply for jobs, you find yourself being the only black person, and that was kind of a huge challenge for me because when they see my resume, it doesn't match my appearance, And when I go to these jobs, and they're shocked to see me, because I don't have a black name, I don't.
Yeah.
And when you hear me on the phone, I don't talk black, So when I walk to an interview, it's like, oh, you're Aaron,
Right. Yep.
And
I hear you, man.
And Pueblo's more of a union town. Old school ways, man. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I bounced around in jobs, and I found myself again. It's not your journey. It's what God has planned out for you. I end up in South Carolina, and that's where my 2 oldest live. And again, man, It's just humbling when you put yourself out there again. I found myself back to square one again, trying to find employment.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, I applied at McDonald's, and McDonald's didn't hire me. And that was probably the most gut-wrenching feeling in the world, that when you think that if all fails, I'll just flip burgers, right? And then when you go to flip burgers, when you go try to flip burgers, they tell you that you're too qualified.
Damn, that's
You,
crazy.
you
Yeah.
know, and between me and you, Billy, man, I sat in my car and I cried, man. I was like, here I am
Yeah. Yeah.
moving across states. I got like $500 in my name.
Right.
I got a cell phone bill. I got to pay child support. And thankfully, my brother lives out there, and that's who I stay with. And he never charged me rent or anything, you know. And I'm blessed to have that, you know. But as far as
Yeah.
like
Sure enough.
bills, man, like that, I that time in South Carolina really really humbled me. I end up finding jobs, you know. I sold
Right.
cars, and I started doing new home construction because that was the only places that would give me a chance. And the whole selling
Right.
cars things again taught me not to trust people, you know.
Yeah.
And that's one job that you can't take an off day. You're there from Monday through Saturday. Thank
Right.
God, you know, that's the Bible Belt, and they don't sell cars on Sunday. But you're there from open to close, and that's 9 to 9 every
Yeah.
day. You know, all commission. You know, so it really taught me
Yeah. Yeah.
that okay, I can't just chill in my cubicle. I got to get out there and work. I got to make these cold calls. I got to get hung up on, you know, and I end up doing pretty good, you know, but
Right.
you know, that wasn't what God had planned for me. So I went from the cars to doing construction. And again, I worked corporate America my whole life, and here I am out here in the trenches, man, um,
Right.
doing work that I never thought I would do. You know, I didn't know how to use a saw. I didn't know how to. I couldn't tell you what if it wasn't a hammer or a wrench. I didn't know what tools were. You know, and that's saying that humbly.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, because how many people can you give
Yep.
a
Yep.
toolbox to and say, hey, go hand me that such and such tool, and they'll bring you the right tool back. And I found myself in that situation, and it was
Right.
embarrassing, man, because people talk shit about you. People like, oh, what the fuck, you don't know what this kind of wrench is.
Yep.
I'm like, truthfully, I really don't, sir. And I wasn't really that great
Right. Right. Yep.
reading the tape measure, you know. So I had to, you know, go to YouTube, man, and really like buckle
Yep.
down and get good at it. And I got really good at that job because again, my kids can't eat excuses, you know. And here I am
Right.
making $28 an hour in Colorado. I'm making $13 an hour doing new home
Yeah.
construction,
Yeah.
man. So that's, you know, and with overtime, you know, I was constantly working, you know, but I found myself falling behind financially, you know, and that was a big
Right.
draw for me to have to figure out what is it that I'm supposed to be doing. Am I supposed to stay out here in South Carolina and struggle financially, or is there something out there better for me? So I started applying for jobs back in Colorado, and I would get a call back just like that, man. But I
Okay.
wasn't I wasn't out there. And said, oh, when you move back here, give us a call. So that was really a deciding factor that I need to get my butt back to
Yeah.
Denver because
Wow.
that's
Okay.
that's where I'm able to find a job. And you know,
Right.
and I told my two oldest kids, if I can't support myself, I can't support you guys.
Yep.
You know, and it sucks because here I am again, not leaving them, but I have to follow the money. You know, and
Yeah.
that's the tough part. Um, so I came back to Colorado in 2018. I got a job with Arapahoe County Fairgrounds. I was an event foreman. Um, Worked that job for a while. I got promoted to an event supervisor. Um, I was horrible at that job, Billy. I didn't know how to
Dang.
manage. I didn't know how to
Okay.
manage people, man, and that was the hard part. Is
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is
Gotcha.
is managing personalities. And
Yeah.
between me and you, I had a shitty staff. I had about one good person and two bad employees who controlled
Ooh.
who
Yeah.
controlled what everybody else
Oh,
did.
the environment.
The
Right. Yep.
environment, you
Yep.
know. So
Right.
and when COVID happened, COVID kind of shut us down, and we became an alternative care facility. So
Dang.
I would work 2 days and have the rest of the week off. So I would come home to my wife and be like, "Man, I hate going to work. I hate this
Yeah.
place."
Yeah.
you know, and I'm back again. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And with the world events, you know, with the whole George Floyd thing going on,
Right,
like
right.
that really showed me how people really felt about a lot of stuff. Because office conversations changed. Office conversations
Yep.
was more
Ooh.
sensitive and more
Yeah, big time.
was more intense. So
Right, right,
you really felt people's heart. You really knew where they stood, and it
right.
wasn't for me, you know. So one day, my wife told me, "Won't you start selling your barbecue?" And I told her I don't want to do that shit, man, because
Yeah.
on Facebook it was just free for all. Everybody's selling plates.
It was. Yep.
People were selling
It's you.
alcohol. They'll throw some chili
Right.
cheese and hot Cheetos on some burritos and sell it for $20.
It, yeah, exactly. Right. Yep.
I didn't
Yep.
want to be a part of that rat race, man. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
she was like, you know what? Well, we're actually doing it, and I was like, damn, we are. So that day we went to Sam's
Yeah.
Club and bought some meat, man, and I text 25 of my friends and said, hey, I'm doing plates
Yep.
this weekend. You want to buy them? Let me know. And thankfully, I pre-sold 25 of them, and I was blessed to have people buy them.
Nice.
And then the day of the cook, man, like I wasn't nothing special. It's what I always did. I made the barbecue, I delivered them, and then for the first, I'll say 2 hours, my phone was dry. I'm like, damn, they hated that food. Nobody's hitting me back up. Like,
Dang.
you know how you refresh your
Yeah.
phone to see if the text messages came in, and then next thing I know, Billy, my phone's getting flooded with like, oh my gosh, that was good. Are you doing it next weekend? My neighbor wants to buy a plate, so
That's what's up.
I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing it next weekend. So every weekend for my job, I would do plates on Saturdays. So it kind of made my week better because I
Okay.
had something to look forward to, you know. So then we had to transition. My
Yep.
garage became a prep place. I was using two small 25-gallon smokers in my backyard. Um, my neighbors thought I was selling
Ooh.
drugs,
Okay.
man. Like, all these cars that show up on Saturdays, you know. So it was really cracking, man,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it hit me. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm making my salary off 1 day's of work. Why the
Yeah.
hell am I going back to work on
Nice.
Mondays?
Okay.
You know, so it's like I don't need to go. I like fuck my
Right.
job. Like I hate this
Okay.
place. So it kind of gave me a more of
Yeah. Yeah.
a push to kind of quit. So I talked to my wife. I was like, hey man, like
Okay.
what's the next step? What should we do? And thank God, man, she's always been in my corner. She said, if you want to do this, let's do this. So I ended up quitting my job. We drove around looking for locations, and we found my location off of Montview.
Okay.
Um, so then we ended up signing the
Yep.
lease, man, and went from there. And I never expected it to go the way it went. It was scary, Billy, to go from selling food out of your house
Yeah. I bet.
to actually owning a restaurant. And I don't know how to run a business, neither does my wife. You know, so
Right.
we kind of
Right.
we fell on our ass a few times, man, and that's kind of
Yep.
how you get better, is how you learn, is by making mistakes. And we had to learn how to, again, manage people, manage money, manage food, buying the right
Right.
enough food, and you know, it was hard. I'll say the
Yep.
first 4 months, we really didn't make no money. You know, I tell people that all the time. Like,
Hmm.
well, you sold out. Like, well, we sold out of food, but we really making no bread. And I had to, you know, dig deep and
Right.
ask my friends, like, dude, like, what do you do at your spot? So just by me networking, I reached out to a few friends in Texas and say, hey, what's your menu? What do you charge? So I had to take out the plates. The plates is where you lose money. You just can't make money
Yeah.
selling $20 plates. You're giving away food, you know. So the a la carte
Right.
method worked for me and helped me subsidize the cost of the food. So I was making 3 times my costs. Is where you should always be
Okay.
at when you run a restaurant. Breaking even, you might as well shut the door. But if you got to make 3 times your cost or more. And once I
Yeah.
changed my menu, I started seeing an extra 3,000,
Interesting. Okay.
extra 4,000, on Saturdays. But it took us 5 months to actually get to that point. And you see my restaurant, man, people will show up hours before we got a chance to open. And
line around
line around the block, man. And it's humbling at the same
man.
time, but
Yep.
you start to create haters. It was like, well, what is he doing that makes his food so special? So that's just learning how to navigate the good and the bad. Sorry. And it's like people who wanted to be close to me, I always question their motives. Like, why they want to work for me now, where a month ago, they was talking about me.
Yep.
So I kind of kept my circle close. I did all the cooking myself. I didn't want to hire nobody because, to me, consistency brings people back.
Yep.
And that's what most restaurants, I think, lack is it'll taste great one day. And then next week, you'll see like, man, it's a little off. So I had to really say, okay, I don't want to be that restaurant that has a wishy-washy taste or flavor profile. And it really took a toll on my body, Billy. I ain't gonna lie. I would be up late, slept at the restaurant, up early. It's just man. It's a lot of work, man. And me having another kid, I had a 3-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Tough, so man. I had to really be there for him. And thankfully, with my schedule at the restaurant, I was able to take him to school, pick him up, and still have that family time that I always wanted that I couldn't with my two oldest because of the corporate America. You had to be there. I couldn't take off. You got to put in for a vacation. It has to be approved by a manager.
Yep.
You got to have coverage, and with my 1 day a week at the restaurant, it allowed me with that flexibility. If I wanted to close down and come back to Texas to visit family, I can do that. So thankfully that restaurant gave me that family stability that I was lacking in the whole past. So
that's what's up, man.
The restaurant was doing really good, man, but we really felt that we worked too hard to kind of be in where we're at in a position. And we always wanted to move to own our own farm. And that was our next kind of goal that my wife and I kind of set for ourselves. It was like, hey, let's do this for 5 years or even 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then let's go buy property somewhere, and, build our future retirement home at that property. And me being from Texas, man, I always wanted to be close to family. And I want to give my kids that childhood that I had, to run outside, not worry about cars, not worry about, just the city shit that you worry about a lot in Denver. And between me and you.
Yeah, man. Right.
And between me and you, we had somebody get murdered outside of our apartments while we were staying in Denver.
I remember that, man. Crazy. Yeah. Right outside.
Outside.
Yep.
And that was they decided, in fact, this shit's getting too close to home. It's time for us to get the hell out of here, man. And people call me crazy because I'm leaving my restaurant at its highest peak. Dude, you're making XYZ on a Saturday. You want to close it down and move to where? But it's again, it's my journey, my legacy. And I always tell you, Billy, I'm big about generational wealth, man. And you can own a house in Colorado, and 5 years from now, that house can be worth nothing. Or you can go buy some land somewhere. That land's going to be in demand.
Right.
Every year, because one thing they ain't making no more of is land. Right. They're making a lot of houses, but they ain't making no more land.
That's true.
And that's why we said we got to go buy us a piece of land somewhere. And something happened whenever I pass or my wife passed, it goes to my 3 kids. And I tell my daughter now, who's the oldest, whatever you do, pay the taxes. If you guys want to keep it, just pay the taxes.
Right, exactly.
or you can sell it and
Yep.
divide it
Yep.
between the three of you guys, but as Black
There you
people,
go.
we don't have a lot of inheritance, and that's
Right.
one thing that I want to give my kids is
Exactly.
that extra push or that step to get them ahead in life. So either they can stay there and build a house, or they can sell it and go move somewhere else, so.
Yep. And build from there too. Yep.
And build from
Yep.
there
I
too.
got you.
So, and we've been out.
What's up, man?
We moved to Texas July of 2023. We end up buying 20 acres. So, Place by the Pound
Nice.
is Gunaway Farms. So that's my house. That's my our name of my farm. We have cows. We got chickens.
Yeah.
We do our own garden, man.
Dope.
So it's just kind of our gateway to self sustainable lifestyle.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Man, that's what's up, man. That's a big story, man, and a lot of it, as you were speaking, it just rings true with a lot of situations a lot of people face. And I want to take it back a little bit when you were talking about the corporate world, man. Is depending on your ethnicity, everybody has a different um, experience.
Exactly.
Going through the corporate world, and you know same thing that you were experiencing as far as your name and your experience and your history, um, not reflecting the same way that you look. That's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing that I've been through. I still go through that to this day,
Uh-huh.
and having to navigate through that corporate world, man. It's tough, man. Sometimes you have to eat what situation you face, and you really face that life making decision. Should I call these people out, or should I just um move and transition into something different, because it's an aggressive um lifestyle to live, especially in that corporate life, man. So it's great to see that through a lot of things that you've been through,
Mm-hmm.
that you're able to get to that point to make that decision, even though it was scary, that decision to actually open the restaurant. Because, and I tell my son this as well. I told him this the other day, and he's a teenager. He barely listens, but whatever. I told him
Mm-hmm.
90% of people talk. They talk big game. Oh, I want to do this. I'm going to do this, or I want to get this established. Oh, I got this sponsor. They're going to do this. 90% of people say that,
Mm-hmm.
but only 10% actually execute from there. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, I see it all the time. People always say that I'll do this, I'll do that, or we're gonna do this. I want to establish this. That's great, but then, man, 9 times out of 10, those same people later down the road still talking about the same thing. But you actually made that leap
And
that a lot of people don't.
it was hard, but I ain't gonna lie, because I was making a guaranteed
Yeah,
65,000 a year, at my job with the
right, right,
government. But it's
right.
like, once I saw the money I was making on weekends,
Yep,
again, when you're your own boss, you move different. Like I can't
yep,
call off sick. I can't, miss this. I have to do it no matter what. Where at the county,
right.
I had sick time, vacation time,
Yeah,
and then you kind of rely on that to kind of make an excuse for the day. So you find yourself
yeah,
in a slump,
right.
like, oh, fuck this place, I'm sick, or, and when you have your own
Yep,
restaurant or have your own
yep,
business, you can't do that. You gotta suck it up,
right.
buttercup, and definitely
Yep,
go out there,
yep,
man. And that's why it was so hard and scary at first when we wasn't seeing no money. Thankfully we had some money saved in our savings, but
yeah,
we didn't want to rely on that savings because we may need
yep.
that down the line,
Exactly.
you
Yeah, for
know.
something. Yeah. Right.
And I
Right.
tell people now,
I think.
man, go ahead.
Yep. No, no. I was going to say that, and I think that's where a lot of people don't understand as well, is that setting those actual goals. to kind of get there as well. You know, like you said, it was tough for you guys to get through it, and there's a lot of businesses that don't make money within the first couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's where the businesses fail because your mindset is, dang, am I doing the right thing,
Right.
or should I just give up and do this, or go back to what I was doing? You know, but people that progressively say, okay, well, man, it's not working. Let me reach out. And just like you were saying, man, you reached out to your counterparts, the
Mm-hmm.
people that were doing the things that you were doing to figure out, okay, so I got the experience. We did this. I'm not making money, but what do you guys do? And
Right.
gave you that feedback. And you were humble enough to accept the feedback and implement it. You know, some people are like, nah, I mean, you do it that way. I think this is going to be the right way, but you were humble enough to take that feedback, man, implement it and see those changes, man. And I think that's really big. That's really big, man. So, but yeah, go ahead. I think you were saying something as well.
No, when piggyback what you just said, when it ain't working, man, you gotta throw it out and see what sticks, man. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
definitely all ears, but I've definitely
yep,
learned to, if you're not going the way I'm going or in the same direction,
right,
I don't want your advice, and that's not being mean because especially in
yep,
barbecue, as you know,
yep,
everybody's a grill master, everybody's a expert. Oh, my husband makes the best ribs. So
yeah,
this goes
right,
from me
mm-hmm, yep,
taking advice from not everybody. If you ain't got a restaurant,
right, right, right,
I really don't care how your ribs are.
man. I feel you.
I'm
Right,
pretty
right,
sure they taste good. But again, we're not
yep,
on the same level.
yep,
And that's not being arrogant. That's just saying like,
yeah,
what is that going to do for me? You know.
yep, yep,
So
right.
I had to go to
No,
people who was actually doing it,
yep.
and thankfully they didn't see me as a threat, and they answered my questions, which I'm very thankful for.
So you told me this before, and I never thought about it this way. It was when you were developing. Actually, you had your hot sauce out already. You know, you had me try some as well, and that night you told me, you said everybody's going to have an opinion on how to make your stuff better. You know, it doesn't matter who it is. Everybody's going to have that opinion.
Oh
You
yeah.
can't just
Hmm.
take everybody's word for what it is. You know, you got to, you know, there's a certain point where you got to
You can't.
trust what
You
you're doing. And I was like, man, you're right. You know, and you sit around, you know, with this podcast that I'm doing, or, you know, with the nonprofit, or even with your the restaurant, is that more people that
hmm
are not doing what you're doing are going to have the best change that you can make to your whatever it is to make it better. You know, and you can't just take that feedback. And some people get mad about that, man. But it's real. I can't just listen to somebody who has not experienced how to build something from the ground up. You know, to get to that point. But then you're going to come around and tell me,
exactly.
"Oh man, you know what's going to make it better? This." I'm like, okay, that sounds what's up, man. Where'd you get that experience from, though? You know, so that's big facts, man.
Right. And my biggest thing is if it I love my favorite quote. If it was me, I would do this. I was
Man,
like, oh, that's great,
right.
but it's not you.
Yeah.
So
For real, man. For real. But I think, yeah, man, I think you took a lot of strides.
we had to, man. And again, like my kids can't eat excuses, man. So at this point,
Yep.
I was all in,
Right.
and I
Right.
refused to because my old job thought I was going to come back, and I'm like, fuck this, man. This
Mm-hmm.
shit has to work.
Right.
So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I'm not going back. I'm not calling y'all. I'm like fill my position with somebody else because I'm not coming back there,
Right. Right.
and thankfully
Definitely.
I had that mentality, man. You had to sink or swim, and I had to put on my floaties
Yep.
and learn how to backstroke because
Yeah. Right.
it had to work, man.
Well, going back real quick, you were talking about the shutdown, COVID, and everything. During COVID, and you can attest to this as well, man. There's an explosion of entrepreneurship. You know,
Oh yeah,
everybody wanting to start your own business, but not having that same grind, that same concept. You know, of taking it a step further. Selling places is cool. You know, I'm looking right now for somebody selling hot wings today, as a matter of fact, so I can go get some hot wings. But are they going to take it a step further? What's your ultimate goal with selling hot plates, and you had that. You said, okay, I'm gonna start here, see where it's at, then we're gonna go, launch it further as well. Same thing with t-shirts, man. T-shirt companies are a dozen at this point. Everybody's selling t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
Right.
what really, and I'm giving away my mindset. I never said this publicly, but the thing about merch is that it's tied to something. It's tied to a brand. You can
Mm-hmm.
sell your shirts all day. You can say, "Hey, I got this new design. I got this." That's great. But what is it tied to? What gravitates that customer to want to buy that merch? You can go anywhere and
Right.
buy t-shirts, but what's going to make that difference
Exactly.
between them buying yours? It's the brand. It's the Righteous Project Inc. That people gravitate towards. Okay, they buy. Okay, I'm gonna buy that because I want to represent the Righteous Project. I'm gonna buy, a Place by the Pound hat because I like their food. But you gotta have something that gravitates them to actually make a purchase of t-shirts to represent what that brand is. But a lot of people are not seeing it. They just want to, stamp a logo on the shirt and then sell it. And that's cool. That's definitely the start, man. But
Right.
when there's a market that's so oversaturated, you want to make sure you're setting yourself apart. And that's the same as your barbecue. You wanted it to be consistent. You want consistent
Mm-hmm.
taste, the consistent, and you put in all the work, man, and it showed. That passion you put into making your food showed, man, because that's why you had that line around the block, every Saturday. That's why I couldn't get, a plate every Saturday, because that line, man, you had to show up early if you wanted it, man. And if you put that passion into it, people are going to be willing to show up, man. And I think that's what separated it for you.
Thank you, man. Also, it's a guy I'm mentoring back in Denver, and I told him, man, I said, don't
Yeah.
be afraid to sell your story. Sell your story,
Right.
and that's why
Yep.
I thank God for social media. It can be a pain because Billy, people message me or they did, man, about
Mm-hmm.
advice. Hey, I'm cooking a pork butt tomorrow. What should I do? Hey, I'm buying a smoker. What should like
Oh,
I
wow.
was spending literally it'll take me a half a day to get to my inbox. And it was never nothing about business.
Ooh.
It was always about just people who
Yeah.
wanted advice. So I
Yeah.
told myself, be the person that you looked up to. So even though I may not respond today, I'm gonna respond tomorrow because some people get to that
Nice.
point where they feel like they're here and you're here. So
Right.
it's like I want them to say, man, he answered my DM or man, he replied
Right.
back.
That's what's up.
Even though it was tough sometimes because when you're juggling family life and my
Yeah.
wife, oh, you're always on your phone. I'm over here networking.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I feel you. I feel you.
So I said, just be the person that you looked up to. So be that guy.
Right.
And as far as selling my story, I learned how to barbecue from my uncle.
Yeah.
So I made that a point to share that.
Right.
I've always told my story. Every interview I did, I shared my story, and people
Yep.
always want to know the story behind the food. Like, what motivates you? What has been your influences? So
Right.
I'm giving the people that their flowers. Like my mom taught me how to cook. My uncle taught me how to do
Yeah. Yeah.
barbecue. So it's like I've
Right.
always gave them their flowers, man. Because growing up in a black household, my mom
Mm-hmm.
worked every Saturday.
Right.
So who was forced to cook for? I will call my mom at work. Hey, go in the kitchen, turn the water on, put it on
Mm-hmm.
medium, add this. So she's telling me how to do it over the phone,
Yep.
but
Yep.
making me do it.
Right.
So it got to a point where she trusted me
Yeah.
to do it again.
Right.
So
Right.
I've started making one thing, and hey, you're doing it this way, you're doing it that way. So just being that person, just being a sponge because you don't know
Yep.
everything, man.
Yep.
And I tell the guy that I'm mentoring, dude, it's like everything needs to inspire you. Every
Oh yeah.
culture, every kind of food needs to be your inspiration because you just never know. Like I said, we're more alike than we are different
Yeah.
in a lot of things. And I made some pozole the other day,
Oh,
and I
okay.
laughed, and I was making it because of my Spanish. My boy Dominic, I grew up with him back in the day, Hispanic family, and I've
Yeah.
never seen somebody who wasn't black eat neck bones or pig feet. And until I went to
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
crib, and I was like,
All
damn, they
right.
eat neck bones and pig feet. they eat all kind of shit that we eat, but
Right.
it's like,
Yep.
again, we're connected through food, man. And it's like, so
Right.
that should be your inspiration. So me making that pozole and thinking back made me laugh because I went back to that moment where Dominic didn't care because it was his mom.
Yep.
I'm in the kitchen looking and watching like, oh man, Miss Herrera, can I look at like what are you doing? Like asking questions because I'm fascinated about it. So like enough to ask the questions, enough to want to experience that, and when it was good, it was done. It was great. It's like, man, this is good.
Right.
But
Right.
again, a lot of my white friends' moms, I told my wife, I was like, I never had hamburger helper until I went to my buddy's house
Yeah.
because
Right.
my mom never bought that.
Yeah. Same.
So it's like,
Same. Yep.
I didn't know what hamburger helper was. I saw the commercials, but we never ate it.
Yep.
Or even casseroles. But it's like, again, those stuff like that should still inspire your story, inspire your journey, because all that's going to build to your foundation
Yep.
of your palate, right? Because your palate is going to be the biggest thing for you because you need to taste, make sure it tastes right, make sure how to be sensitive to seasoning.
Right.
Okay, everybody takes salt differently.
Yep.
How to be sensitive to heat. Everybody takes heat
Yep.
differently.
Yep.
And having so many friends of different ethnic backgrounds, it taught me how to train my palate
Right.
to
Right.
to to be aware of heat, spices. I, I had some friends' parents who didn't season their food.
Mm-hmm.
I had some friends' parents who did season their food.
Right.
But owning a restaurant, man, you have to be sensitive to a lot of things. So it took me back to my childhood again, where, because like me, black people love salt,
Mm-hmm.
but when you have a restaurant, you got to learn how to use ingredients with salt
Yeah.
and then add salt to taste. Does
Yep.
that make sense?
Oh
Because
yeah.
once you over salt it, you just can't get it back. It's gone. It's ruined. And
Right.
what
Yep.
do you use this for? Oh, I use this ingredient because it has sodium in it already. Oh, okay. Do you
Yep.
use Himalayan salt? No, I don't use that. I use this. So it's like just teaching me
Right.
how to use certain ingredients, man. And like I said, I give flowers to my mom and my uncle and on all my friends' parents growing up because we grew up in a generation where if they ate, you ate.
Yep. Exactly.
Like they didn't send you home for they can eat. Hey, Aaron, call your mom, tell her you're going to eat here today.
Yeah.
So I grew up in that generation, man. And again, I ate a lot of food that I liked that my friends' moms made and I didn't like. But as far as the inspiration, it just goes from my mom, my uncle, and all my friends' parents who had me eat at their table.
Yep. Yep. That's what's up. That's good, man. I think a lot of people have to take note because it's true, man. I mean, the more diverse you are, especially going into any business, the wider your audience, your demographic, customer base is going to be. So yeah, man. So I think that's big time, man. I appreciate you sharing that as well.
Thank you, man.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
that.
So from here, man, I always ask everybody this as well. Going from everything you've gone through, growing up, throughout your life, is there anything now, from what you learned that you'll tell your younger self, that may have changed a direction sooner for you? Now, the question, I know it's a loaded question because, man, teenagers, hard headed. There's not much you could tell
Oh
teenagers
yeah,
that could really shift what they say. But do you think there's something that you would be able to tell your younger self now that would change that?
yeah. I would tell myself, man, to take more chances. I was kind of more conservative because I always wanted to
Yep.
save face. I didn't
Right.
want to look bad. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to get made fun of. And there was a lot of situations where if I'd have took that chance or kind of risked it for the carrot, man, I
Yeah.
would have been in better situations. And also, don't be afraid to stand out.
There you go.
And again, I think a lot of us were conservative, and a lot of us talked ourselves out of
Yep.
situations because we was afraid. We was
Yep.
afraid
Right.
because nobody looked like us in a lot of those positions. So that kind of stopped you from going for it,
Straight up.
And I tell my kids this now. Like I was a good athlete, man, growing up, but my I didn't want to be better. I was okay with being good.
Right. I
I
hear
was
you.
okay with I didn't want to take that chance. I didn't want to take that risk, and just if I could have go back, man, I would have took more risk.
Right. That's what's up, man. I think that's important to hear. A lot of people, I think they can take that note right now. I mean, at this exact moment, is to take more chances. I can agree to that as well, myself. So I appreciate you sharing that, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
So
that.
yeah, no doubt. So yeah, man, that's definitely everything in a nutshell. I do appreciate you jumping on and sharing your thoughts and sharing your path to where you are today. I do like to say your path to success, but success is definitely in the eye of the beholder because doesn't matter where anybody is at that moment. To others, they definitely look up to the person. I look up to you as well. But I'm sure that you
Thank you,
feel
man.
like there's a lot more that you can accomplish. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of an important aspect for everybody to understand is that you just have to constantly set your goals, man, to keep knocking them down as you go. Never stop. So that's
And
good, man.
I say one thing,
Any
Billy.
final
I
thoughts?
think I think it's not me being successful. Is me laying the legacy
Mm-hmm.
for my kids. So it's like you could definitely have all the money in the world, but if you don't set your
Right.
kids up right to do good with that money, it's not
Yep.
going to last. So it's like,
That's
okay,
real.
here we are. My wife had a great job.
Right.
I had the restaurant. But here we are living in Denver, where the cost of living is so high.
Yep.
So it's like we making all this money to give it back to in taxes, food.
Yep.
So it's like, how can I set my kids up the right way? And that's why that move was so important for us,
Yep.
was taking a step back to where, the first year is not going to be easy. And we
Yep.
both knew that
Right.
because, I quit the restaurant. She quit her job,
Yep.
but again, we don't have a mortgage,
Right.
which is a blessing, so we kind of scaled back a lot,
Quite a bit. Yep.
to where the money we do have, we're putting it in the right places. And to me, that's being successful as far as managing the tools you have for the next generation. And,
Yep.
the older I get, man, I'm big on leaving this earth
Yes, sir.
with my kids to have something,
Right.
because I've seen family members who didn't get nothing,
Yep.
and if they would have had that extra push, the extra, $20 or whatever it is,
Right.
man,
Yep.
to get to that next, set them up for good. Because I've
Yep.
seen a lot of friends growing up who's inherited. Oh, my grandpa left me $50,000.
Right.
What?
Yep.
you know, if
Yep.
it's money, knowledge, a
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
people, we just inherit pictures, man,
Yep.
and clothes. And I definitely wanted to change that narrative,
Yep.
So me leaving my kids this land
Right.
means the world to me and my wife. So
Big time, man. Big time. That's what's up. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you say, man. And I appreciate all that knowledge you're dropping too. So looking forward, to seeing, more progress, just keep me updated. I'll follow you on social media. So, just keep those updates coming, man. So
most definitely,
yes,
man,
sir.
most definitely.
And I appreciate the audience as well for checking in. If you guys listen to the entire episode, much appreciated. You can catch more episodes on YouTube, Legacy United, and we are on just about every streaming platform for audio podcasting as well. So once again, this is your boy Billy Wayne and Aaron Gonerway with Legacy United. We'll catch you guys soon.
Thank you, appreciate it.